We're coming up on almost a year since the Archer Commander Boudicca Prime and Henry V were both released into Rise of Kingdoms. Today, I'll be talking about the latest news from LILTH Games about 2 new Archer Commanders that will be coming to the game in the near future. I'll be telling you everything I theorize about them and the huge shifts to the meta that they are going to bring. So stick around till the end to get all this valuable information. Okay everyone, if you're new here, welcome to the channel. I upload the best Archer content I possibly can. I've been playing for almost 2 years and all I do is use Archers in Rise of Kingdoms. Today, I'll be talking about everything to do with these new commanders, what we know so far, which isn't much, and what I think will happen. So, we can first start off by saying confidently that one of the commanders will be the Chinese civilization. You can see on screen to the left, the commander on the left has the Chinese background. Every commander that has that commander wallpaper background is the Chinese civilization. Besides Genghis Khan, he's the only exception. And I've heard some rumors floating around about who the commander may be, but I can't pronounce their name. So if you really want to look into that, I think there's a post on the forum somewhere, so you can give that a shot. The next commander has got no background that's been shown with any legendary commanders, actually. The only commanders we switch in game that don't have a civilization, such as like Tomyris and Artemisia, these commanders all have a generic background, which is just like castles and buildings, tents and pyramids and stuff like that. But this commander has the same background as commanders such as Loha. Like if we go into the, not Loha, let's say Kira. Kira's got that background. This is the LILTH background. This is commanders made by LILTH who technically didn't exist in the real world. So possibly we could be looking at a commander that has no historical connection at all and they're brand new. Or, in the newest video, they announced they've been working on the Greece civilization. So we could also possibly be seeing a Greek commander who just doesn't have a background yet since they haven't released the Greek civilization. And that would be really, really insane. That isn't confirmed. I don't think the Greece civilization will be coming out for another couple months. Then again, I don't think these archers will be coming out for another couple months. Now, with these new Archer commanders, I'm speculating a few things that I think will happen. First, I think the mightiest governor commander will be a Garrison commander. The last time we saw a Garrison was with Artemisia and Amanitore, and Artemisia released almost 2 years ago, which is a bit ridiculous, and Amanitore was over a year ago now. So it's been a year, and I think that the next commanders will have to be Garrison, because we've had Nebu, Gilgamesh, Henry, Ramses, Edward, all these Archer commanders can rally perfectly fine. Archer rallying is in a good position right now. They can't beat cav garrisons, but they destroy infantry garrisons. That's the position they're in at the moment. So I do see Archer garrisons coming back, possibly as a way to counter Tariq ibn Ziyad. Forgive my butchering of his name. He is an absolute monster of a rally right now, especially with Pakal. I've even seen Scipio and Sargon rallies with him, and he's just destroying. So I think that this commander, Tariq ibn Ziyad, is going to lose some effectiveness when these new Archer garrisons come out. At least I hope that they'll counter him a little bit. You know, we've got the rock, paper, scissors mechanic in Rise of Kingdoms, where infantry beats cavalry, cavalry beats archers, archers beats infantry. So I do predict this new garrison will be able to take on Tariq rallies and still come out fairly alright. So I think the MGE commander will be probably, obviously, Archer, Garrison, and then probably Skill. I don't think we'll get another support, and I don't think we'll get another defense commander. So Archer, Garrison, Skill is my bet for talents. I'm sure that they'll have some type of AoE protection, something similar to Amanitore's, or they won't, and then they'll pair well with the Amanitore. Because Amanitore, she's high damage, not very high stats. She's got stats that are just not as high as some Garrison commanders. So we could be looking to a high stat, low damage factor, like not low damage factor, but like no AoE Garrison commander, who would pair well with Amanitore. I don't think they're going to be bad with Artemisia, but I don't think Artemisia will come back into the Garrison meta, because I think that LILTH wants people to invest in as many commanders as possible so they get the most money they can. And I think that Amanitore is one of the commanders that people, yeah, they invested in her when she released, but not as many people went all in as like Henry when he released. I know way more people that invested in Henry. So I think they're going to make a commander that works well with Amanitore to bring her some more revitalization, especially in the field she was made for, to Garrison. So next thing I think is the next commander will be a field commander, of course, because we've been sticking to the one field release at the moment. One field, one rally or garrison. And so I think the next commander is going to be field. Now, before I do that, I want to discuss one thing. For the second commander, I think they're going to fall into a specific category of having a specific thing that all free-to-play players want them to have. Let's just take a look at the last 2 generations of commanders that I've released. So for cavalry, we had single target high damage factor Nevsky with lots of stats, very tanky, very powerful commander. And then we got Joan, not as many stats, still pretty tanky, very fast, AoE damage commander. So she was fairly glass cannon. So we had a single target, high tanky march, and then a fairly glass cannon commander. Then we go to infantry. Infantry, we had Sepia Prime release. He was a tanky, fairly high stat commander. Then we had Sargon release. Sargon's a debuffing, slightly glass cannon in my opinion. Not saying he's not tanky, I think he's got some tanky skills. But slightly glass cannon commander who pairs well with Scipio. And he has single target damage and Scipio had AoE damage. Now I'm getting into the damage types that dealt here because the last archer commanders that released, Boudicca Prime, tanky single target damage archer commander. And Henry V, tanky single target damage archer commander. So I predict we're going to get a heavy glass cannon commander, maybe something similar to Joan Prime, who has high AoE damage, probably some march speed, and also a very, 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 very powerful AoE effect that I think will be very good for open field, especially if you're free to play. Another thing that I think backs this theory, this is only a theory by the way, hasn't been confirmed. The last really super powerful archer commander with AoE we had was YSG, who is like 3 years old now, which is just ridiculous to think of. He has 1700 damage factor to 5 targets and is an archer commander. The last thing we had even close to YSG was Nebuchadnezzar, 1500 damage factor to 5 targets. Nothing has come even close to YSG's 5 target AoE in the archer category at all since. Like, I mean, we've had a Monotauri who I guess has a lot of AoE, but not in the field, not unless she's garrisoning. And then Artemisia, yeah, she has higher damage factor than AoE, but she hurts herself, and also, it only hits 3 targets, it doesn't hit 5. So I think we'll be looking at a commander that pairs well with Boudicca Prime, or pairs well with YSG/Henry, because I think they're going to have not as many stats as Boudicca Prime, not like the 70% of premium stats that Boudicca has. Nothing stupidly crazy as that. But I think they're going to have really high damage factor. Possibly 2500 direct damage factor in AoE to 3. I don't think they'll hit 5 targets. Probably 3 targets. If it's 2000 damage factor to 5 targets, that's absolutely insane, but I highly doubt they'll do that. So what does this mean? If you're a free-to-play player entering Season of Conquest, I think that unless you're entering KVK right this instant and you're like, I really need to invest in a Boudicca Prime, I have max ESONG and that's all I've got, then just hold your sculptures. Save them. I'm saving mine right now. I paused my current project on Gilgamesh and Henry. I wanted to max Henry. But I paused my projects and you can see I've got 58 sculptures I'm saving for when these commanders release. I want to be ready to invest in them so that I have proper strong field marchers. I just came out of a KVK, that's why I'm not too worried about working on more commanders for my next KVK. What I'm really worried about is having the meta. So what I want to do is I've got my Boudicca max, I've got ESONG, I've got Cyrus and Henry, all these very top tier commanders. I want to hold on to my sculptures and I'm going to wait for these new commanders to release before I make any decisions. This is the main investing principle in Rise of Kingdoms. So if you've just made it Season of Conquest or you're in Season of Conquest already and you're thinking of investing in Boudicca, I say just wait, calm the farm and just wait to see what commanders do release. Because if these commanders are meta changing and you invest in Boudicca, and I don't know, I won't say she's bad. She's never going to end up being a bad commander in my opinion. She's got the longevity of her active skill here. But if this commander ends up being something insane, like all damage reduction on the opponent, and then high skill damage, and they've got march speed, and they're just glass cannon, and you're ready to invest in them, you're going to dominate the open field for like 3 or 4 months. So just wait and see what happens with those commanders. If you are thinking of investing in archer commanders right this instant, I'll have a playlist on the end screen which has just popped up to see all the archer commanders in Rise of Kingdoms that I've made a guide on. Ramses is actually releasing tomorrow, so if you're interested in Ramses, make sure you check out that guide tomorrow. I thank you for watching, and I hope I'll see you in the next one.